5 after 5. I'm Frank Cusumano. This is Corey Miller. We're going to hit the 5 hot topics in sports today. Please join us. We'd love to get a little interaction.
We got to talk right off the bat because it happened just a few hours ago. Dennis Gates introduces the new coach for the Missouri basketball team. Frank, we've talked a lot about this. We just talked about it on the podcast yesterday. Not the sexiest name out there. Not a whole lot of people lining up to buy season tickets because Mizzou hired Dennis Gates. But everybody in basketball seems to think this is a great hire.
Yeah, in fact, you can't find anybody in the industry that doesn't say positive things about him. And, you know, our 5 on Your Side poll, where we ask how you feel about it, 75% are indifferent. That's because the casual fan doesn't know Cleveland State. In fact, when you think of Cleveland State, all you think about 1986, they beat Bob Knight in Indiana. Nobody knows who this guy is. But I'll say this, he's a really good recruiter. He did it for 8 years at Florida State, and he's gone to NCAA, NIT last couple of years. I think he's got a chance to assemble a really special staff. Boy, you know, it's not like football where you need like 15 or 20 players. You get like 3 good recruits, you can get this thing up and going fast.
I like the things he had to say in his press conference, but we just were talking about this. It looked like it just happened. Mizzou might have lost 2 of their guys to the transfer portal already. Trevon Brazile and Javon Pickett, who might have already been graduate. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what his eligibility status is, but he's apparently in the transfer portal as well. They got to keep Brazile, though.
Yeah, and I don't blame kids for testing the waters. I think that the chances of him coming back would be higher than the average person that goes into a portal, because the average person that goes into a portal has been with that existing coach for 2, 3, 4 years. I've had enough of this guy. Yeah. Well, he doesn't even know what our new guy, Dennis Gates, is like, and I imagine Gates can make a good first impression.
Don on Twitter saying, let's give this guy a chance. I think that seems to be how the tide is turning for Mizzou fans. If you went online, though, a couple days ago, everybody was up in arms over hiring Dennis Gates. All right, let's move on. Got to talk some Cardinals pitching depth, because that's still going to be the story until they maybe do something about it, which maybe they won't. Maybe we're dealing with Johan Oviedo and Jake Woodford. How do you see the situation right now? It definitely doesn't look good that we're going to see Jack Flaherty or Alex Reyes for a little while at least.
Yeah, I'm not so certain how much you're going to miss Reyes. I mean, look, he had a good season last year, 29 saves, but boy, it's almost like you expect to not ever have a full season out of him. I will say this, Matz has looked good. Today, Dakota Hudson looked good. Wainwright's fine. You know he's going to be good. Michaelis was okay, too. Yeah, you need one of those two, Oviedo or Woodford, and I think they're leaning towards Woodford. But, boy, I tell you, Oviedo, even though the record and the numbers are so bad, he just looks like he's out of central casting. I think one day he'll figure it out.
I think so, too. Hopefully he got some experience last year, and now he knows how to better operate in the big leagues. I still am not above wanting the Cardinals trade for Sean Manaea or Frankie Montes from the A's, because they're both out there. The A's are in total implosion mode. I think Mo needs to go out and get one of those guys. Do you think there's any chance of that happening?
Oh, I do, especially, you know, Manaea wouldn't be that expensive. Yeah, and look, it's all going to come down to how does Woodford and Oviedo and maybe even Liberatore throw this spring. And if we're late in the spring and none of those 3 is working out, that's when Mo has to get on the phone.
Be nice to see Liberatore get an extended look this year if he's ready, for sure. Let's move on. Blues trade for Nick Leddy. This happened yesterday at the trade deadline. Doug Armstrong made another move, another one that fans weren't so happy about online probably. But on paper, when you start to think about it, it's not that bad, especially we talked about Sundquist. Not the same guy he was a couple years ago. Jake Wellman, you're not really that upset to lose. What can Nick Leddy bring to the Blues?
Well, first of all, people in the league say he's an unbelievable skater. And, you know, when they were talking about that, I know he's not close to Jay Bouwmeester's size, but that was one of the great things about Bouwmeester is he was a magnificent skater. And the fact that he has been a part of 9 different NHL playoffs, won a Stanley Cup. Look, he is definitely better than the 4th defenseman on the Blues yesterday. So, you know, we'll see what he looks like in Washington tonight with Colton Parayko. I don't think it's a bad gamble, and you're not giving up a lot.
Essentially, they had to do something, though, because the current crop was not going to get it done for a playoff run.
I find it interesting, too, tonight that Ville Husso is between the pipes again. So I just texted with Chris Kerber, why this? Because Husso, 5 goals, 27 shots Saturday. And he thinks it's more because Jordan Binnington was not feeling good yesterday. So the flu's kind of running through the Blues right now.
Yeah, I saw Tarasenko's not playing tonight. Thomas isn't playing tonight. You mentioned Binnington, so let's talk about it for a second. Do you think there was any truth to those rumors that Doug Armstrong was floating him out there as a possibility?
Yeah, I think if you consider the source who reported it, one of the most respected guys in covering the NHL. Yeah, and look, let's face it. At the time, Husso was probably playing really well, and maybe you move Binnington for a really quality defenseman, and then you use some of that money to sign Husso long term.
I think by now we know never to bet against Doug Armstrong.
No.
He's got the trust of everybody in town. We'll see how it pans out. March Madness, first weekend in the books. Don't want to pump myself up too much, but
You're number one.
I'm in first place
out
of
how many people?
118 bracket entries in my pool.
And you luck out on Arizona.
I was watching that Arizona TCU game the other night. Very happy they did not call a foul on Arizona on that last play, which probably should have been a foul. What was your favorite game to watch? What are your takeaways from the first weekend?
Well, it's got to be St. Peter's beating Kentucky.
Yeah.
When you think St. Peter's had zero NCAA tournament wins, that the third assistant on Kentucky makes twice as much money as the head coach at St. Peter's, and just all the wherewithal Kentucky has to lose that game. John Calipari is a 10 as a recruiter and about a 2 as a game coach. I mean, that's the story. Let me think. Well, the Illinois game was heartbreaking, but Houston, nobody defends and offensive rebounds like them. And I don't know, do we say Illinois underachieved? Do they have a bunch of NBA players on their roster? I don't know. It was disappointing, though.
I think, like SLU 2 years ago, Illinois really got the raw end of the deal when the tournament was canceled, because I think SLU and Illinois were both primed. That was going to be their year to really make a run. So it stinks Illinois didn't get to get farther this year, because we would like to still have a local team to be talking about. Let's move on. Last thing, 5 after 5. The NFL QB Carousel. You can't escape the NFL. It's everywhere. It's the biggest story, and it seems like every day we've got some crazy quarterback move. What's the one that's maybe jumped out the most to you?
Well, I think the fact that the Washington Commandos actually called Andrew Luck before they went after Carson Wentz. Andrew Luck, who hasn't thrown a ball in 3 years. And he's too healthy right now. He doesn't want to mess up. What I'm hoping for in this whole quarterback carousel, that you just stay out of Seattle. That, Pete Carroll doesn't think, this Baker Mayfield could help us. Let me tell you something. Drew Lock has a better arm than Baker Mayfield. Drew Lock is probably a better athlete. He's taller. He's a better teammate. I'm just hoping and praying that Seattle, doesn't bring in a Mayfield or a Garoppolo at the last moment. It would be so wild if Drew ends up as the starter there.
I saw a little bit of his introductory press conference. He took number 2 and said, I can't take number 3. That's Russell Wilson's number. I think they're probably going to draft somebody as a quarterback. Yeah, that's fine.
But that quarterback, especially this class, is probably not going to beat out.
Hopefully Drew has a coach that actually believes in him for once.
Exactly. Instead of Vic Fangio, who I'm embarrassed was Italian, was ripping poor Drew Lock, before he got there. The problem is he's got another 65-ish, or now actually 70-year-old Pete Carroll, a defensive-oriented coach. But, boy, I just would like to see Drew Lock get a shot.
Now, has the NFL hasn't always been this crazy, has it?
Well, we've never gone through a quarterback carousel in a 2-week time period like this.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson to the Browns, which is a mess. I mean,
you give him the most guaranteed money in the history of football, and yet there's 22 women out there saying what he did to them?
I looked at their Twitter profile. When they have to release 4 or 5 different statements from people in the organization explaining the process and how much they believe in this, there might be a problem, and you maybe shouldn't have done that.
Why not wait till you get an actual ruling from the commissioner on how many games he's going to miss? Ben Roethlisberger missed 6 games. He's going to have to miss at least 6 games. And when people say, well, no criminal charges, there's 22 different women who felt they were treated in a really poor way by this guy. There's some smoke to this fire.
They are the Browns, so if any organization was going to make a mess of it, it's probably them. All right, that'll do it for the 5 after 5 today on Tuesday. We'll be back on Thursday. Have a great week, everybody.